again for anyone that was on vacation, not hanging out. Hey,
there we
Eli.
go. Feels good to be back, man.
What's up, man? We haven't seen you in forever.
Dude, feels so good to be back.
I feel like, man, I was dehydrated waiting for you.
In case you guys didn't notice, we didn't have a podcast out last week. I was in Florida having a good time with the family.
We trying to pre-record. That's not our style.
No.
We like to come out live the best that we can. No. And I didn't like that you were going without me.
I know,
You're
man.
like, hey, man, let's pre-record and let's have all this stuff. And I was like, Fat, if you let him do that, I'm going to fucking kill you. And then I was like, Fat, who does Eli hate? Let's get like
some guest on or
Hugh
someone
Jackman
or someone
like,
that I love. I like Hugh Jackman.
Let's get like a super hot female blonde looking Eli-ish in here.
Just way cooler than me.
Something. Dude, like have somebody in here, Fat, that like ends up being so cool they like take his spot. Eli comes back and like the name's engraved in the chair like a Hollywood fucking
so I'm glad
on-set chair.
I'm glad we didn't even do one.
Yeah. Well, we just got too busy too. And for those of you that know, right, like we try not to be romantic. Like we have day jobs. We're doing real estate, man, and we're doing, our off-market stuff and on-market and training our team and commitments are there. So it's nice if we can record ahead of time and keep that momentum going or whatever it may be. But if things are going on with the team and we've got training or they need our help with stuff or we've got business with our personal clients, that comes first. And that's always got to come first.
Yeah. Yep.
100%. But you're back. You're rested.
Super happy.
I'm super happy. I've been so lonely.
I know, man.
I hope our ladies aren't listening. This is going to be a super romantic trio today. No. I wish we had a camera on Fat because I always do this right here. If anyone's looking at me, that's me looking at Fat, waiting for him to like.
We'll get one.
Give me a little winky.
We'll get one.
Good topic today. I know we're kind of messing around, but we can get right into it and chat about it. I like
love
it.
This one, dude.
I love this one, man, because it's got layers too, and I can't wait to talk about the dichotomy of both sides of how to be that, but then not forcing yourself to be that, or just doing things for the sake of doing things. Yada yada.
Our topic today,
your topic of choice.
Our topic today: breaking the rules and being a cowboy.
Being a freaking cowboy.
Yeah. What does that mean? That's a very uncowboy thing of you to do.
That's being a fucking cowboy.
There you go.
That's right. So we won't be able to boost that clip because
that's all right though.
The gram doesn't like your curse words on there. They like it to be straight up.
So what do we mean, man? Break it. Let's start off with being a cowboy, dude, because you've told me that about you since day one, and it just clicks. I understand it. I don't know if a lot of people know what exactly you mean by you're just a fucking cowboy.
I'm a cowboy to the bone, man.
Yeah,
and it's I've heard this from several people, and I good friends with Cerrone back in the day, and hung out and. He's one of the biggest ones there is. But this was also bigger and just in the Marine Corps as well. And, we're just like that term, cowboy the fuck up. Mm-hmm. Hey, man, cowboy the fuck up. Mm-hmm. Handle your stuff or, whatever you're doing. But also just being a cowboy. So let's talk about that. Let's go from the beginning. So if anyone can see my phone here instead of my handy dandy notebook that I usually have right below my big old elbows, I got my phone today. Yeah. But let's talk about it. So a cowboy, I guess common themes. It's just against the grain, spontaneous, never quits, doesn't take no for an answer, unpredictable.
That's a good one.
Rough around the edges, dies on his own sword, and knows how to treat a lady. You know what I'm saying?
Who doesn't like? And all those things are so true, dude. And what I love about it is at the end of the day, who doesn't love a cowboy, dude?
Well, yeah, and sometimes that can be misconstrued as like a bad boy.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily I don't even know what the definition of a bad boy is, but it just with the Marine Corps, man, and being a part of Special Operations Command and slinging guns and training and preparing for combat and just having to think outside of the box and having to be spontaneous and ready for anything, man, you kind of feel like a cowboy and that you like having that mentality because I think it helps prepare you for the unknown. And I think that's the other piece to a cowboy, right, is they're always I guess for my interpretation from like old Westerns and whatever, right? Yeah. Just like they're always on to the next thing. They're into the next town, on to the next thing or conquering something new and those things. And, I like that mindset. I like that mindset in business. I think our battlefield is business. the battlefield of business. So the way that I tend to correlate things is to things that I can speak to or recognize and I can visualize. Mm-hmm. So the battlefield of business puts me in the same mindset of like training for a battlefield, as a Marine, and just the unpredictableness. That's the right word for it. And just being prepared at all times, but then taking pride in being prepared at all times. But, man, like not always playing by the rules.
Yeah.
There's a couple, some people call that great. Listen, man, we didn't always play by the rules. So there might be some rules that I've left behind that are still bent.
Yeah, you can't play by the rules. And that's why, I think this correlates to business so well,
dude.
You
can.
This,
and this is such a, like, I feel like
100%.
I feel like I'm super thinking on this podcast right now because I don't want to say anything inappropriate. I don't want to take anything out of context. I don't want to make people, especially for young listeners. We have a lot of young listeners, and like my Instagram's been getting some good traction, and my biggest traction is like 18 to 24. So I don't want people thinking that like screwing your buddy over or cheating or breaking a law or, like money laundering. Yeah. No. Well, maybe bank robbers back in the day might have been cowboys, or maybe they weren't. They were bank robbers, but they looked like cowboys because they were on horses with hats. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make sure I slow myself down and speak to what I can and just make sure that I'm staying within the context.
Well, here, I'll elaborate a little bit. So the extra layer on top
be a cowboy, man. Get yourself in trouble.
The extra layer on top of being a cowboy is the title of this podcast, which is just breaking the rules. And I've always loved this. And honestly, that's why I love being an entrepreneur.
So before you go there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to speak over you. I know.
Yes, Will.
Okay, it's not.
Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. went on vacation, and I had no say in it.
Yes, Will. Before I go there.
No. Before you go there,
okay,
because I feel like I'm craving some thoughts from you,
okay,
but I'm trying to gear them.
Okay,
is it breaking rules, or is it just like thinking outside of the box, or just creating scenarios that rules didn't think of?
Well, why I love being an entrepreneur,
right?
Back to my original thought that ties in perfectly with what you're going to ask.
Thank you for making me feel better.
Why I love being an entrepreneur is because it allows this free space where you're allowed to break the rules, because there really aren't any fucking rules.
Yeah.
Outside of paying your taxes and being a good person, I love entrepreneurship because it's like the Wild West, man. Like, yeah, there's guidelines, right? There's hard nose on a few things, right? You can't go and rob a bank. You can't go and kill somebody, right? We get that. However, outside of that, that's why I love the Wild West and those Old West movies, because it was like, hey, guys, like, we got this speakeasy here and we've got this here. Like, everyone's just kind of doing their thing. And that's how entrepreneur life is, because there's just no guidelines, man.
Well, there's not. It's, it's kind of like, so the way I articulate that is everyone, not in a selfish way, but like there's plenty to eat for everyone. Like I was talking to my buddy Alex, over the weekend. He owns a brokerage, and we were talking about different ideas, and he's got a completely different business model than we do, and we got ours, but we were still talking, and something that him and I have always said, or how we're always okay to collaborate, because there's so much out there. There's so much real estate for people to eat. I don't need to be afraid of giving you an idea, because you're not going to steal my business. Like there's so much, especially in Denver, there's a ton. But what I like that is it's kind of like a free fighter zone, man. Like it's everything for the taking, right? So it's what you make of it, and it's not everyone out for themselves. That's the wrong way to say it, but it's kind of like there is no glass ceiling to this thing, right? Like there is no like I'm at my job, I do what I'm told, and sometimes they let me get creative or improvise, but it doesn't change my pay or my bonus, and nothing against those jobs. More than okay with those jobs if that's for you. And I think more people need to be honest with themselves about the type of jobs they have, because entrepreneurship, or this wild west thing we're talking about, man, it's not necessarily for everyone. It's not.
And honestly, dude, we need people in cubicles. When I call customer service, I need someone to answer the phone.
Fat.
Like, we do, man. We do. There's
I
nothing
felt like
wrong
you
with
looked
that.
right at Fat when you said cubicles and like, we need those foreigners.
That's the last person I would look at.
I know.
He looked at me.
Shut up.
We need those foreigners in those cubicles.
Nah, dude. You need the 9 to 5 people. And there's some people, man, like that just checks such a big box for them, and it's, security in their mind, and they can go home and not worry about work. I honestly don't wish entrepreneurship on anybody, man. I don't. It's not easy, bro.
I know. It's not easy. Perspective, man.
Yeah.
I wish a lot of things on people. Sometimes I wish there was mandatory military / community service.
That I agree.
If you want to go to the military, cool. If you don't want to, like if that's not your thing, but okay, well then you can do community service.
Dude, the IDF, man, like
Israeli Defense Force. I served with them, man. I was in Israel. Can't necessarily speak about it. We're gonna leave that alone, but
that's what they do out there.
They have
men,
mandatory
women,
military.
18, you're in the military.
Yeah, they do, man. And
how long do they serve?
2 years. 2 years mandatory.
Yeah.
And men and women are involved, and like they've got when we were doing some training out there, like their schoolhouse, their Scout Sniper schoolhouse, they had females training students because your male snipers for them were out on the lines of Israel and defending and doing their thing and setting up their spies and like their hides and stuff, and they needed every guy they could get that was prepared. So the females that were just great shooters that could understand tactics and training would run the schoolhouse. We met 1 or 2 of the guys, but primarily it was female.
Interesting. So
it's interesting how they still don't necessarily want women directly involved in combat, but they still have a role.
Right.
But there's a lot of pride in that country, man. They kind of need everyone they can. That's that's there. And if you're a dual citizen, so like if you're a citizen but you live in America, like one of the girls that I met, can't remember her name. Not that it's important, but she was an instructor there. She was from Illinois.
No,
like shit. I remember saying hi to her.
No shit.
And I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And she's just, "What's up, dude?" And then you're like,
"Yeah."
What? Like, I don't know if she said, "What's up, dude?" But she said something like that. Like, she was one of the homies, right? "What's up, bro?" Whatever. Yeah. But no accent. No, hello there. Very nice to whatever the fuck accent.
So she had to come out there.
Whatever accent I'm trying. Yeah. But if you want to maintain your citizenship, you have to go do your mandatory military. Wow. So if you're a dual citizen because of your parents or however it works out, I don't know the logistics behind it, but you have to go. Huh. And you got to just serve your 2 years there, to maintain your citizenship. So super unique, right? And there's some pride there. So for me, when it comes to perspective, and I could be jaded because I am I don't want to call it a late bloomer. That sounds inappropriate. And I wasn't a late bloomer for the record. I don't even know what the hell we're talking about today. Just keep this thing rolling. We're going to figure it out. What was I saying about being a late bloomer?
I'm guessing entrepreneurship.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So for me, I technically, right, like after I left that fitness company, I was 33, almost 34 years old before I was in a full-on entrepreneurship role. I was number 2 in a company prior to this. Prior to that, man, it was law enforcement and mercenary work and Marine Corps. But I think I've had an extraordinary success rate with entrepreneurship because of falling back on some of the qualities that I've learned over time with leadership and perspective. And, like Fat and I had some great conversations over the weekend, and even he's learning a ton and that's going to help him better, and just the endeavors that he wants to do in addition to this podcast, and encouraging him to do that, but giving perspective on it. I think that's important. So I fear, and if you are who you are, cool, right? Like, and we're going to talk about this too, man, because one of my topics today is like, okay, you're a cowboy and you're against the grain, you're rough around the edges and cool, man. But being that just for the sake of being that, to be different, that's not what I'm getting at. And I heard that from Shantosh. He had a podcast of his and he was talking about just zigging when people zag. That's how I'm saying it. He didn't, I'm not quoting him here, but the cliff notes of what he was talking about was like, hey, like, sometimes doing what the masses are doing is okay. It's just the right thing. Like, you don't always have to be different. You don't always have to do something different. And for me, young entrepreneurs scare me to an extent because of the lack of perspective, because the lack of just self-awareness, because the lack of like understanding, not needing to impress everyone or not needing to just go off the deep end and be different with everything that you're doing. And now you're born entrepreneurs that are like you, you're not stopping them. But people that are younger, that have access to YouTube and all these things that you and I didn't, and it starts implanting that seed. Like Chloe at school, man, like my daughter, she's in 4th grade now. And last year when she was in 3rd grade, the number one thing kids wanted to be was a YouTuber.
That's crazy. Not an astronaut anymore.
No.
Not a professional baseball player.
And it's all good. It's not good or bad. It's just, hey, look, like that's what's in. That's what's popular to kids. There's a ton of kids on YouTube playing video games and different things and cool. But I do think that it does create an epidemic of like, you're going to get these kids that are like 17, 18, 19 years old that grow up around that. And then they start forcing themselves into that category, just like we had the epidemic with college, where kids were forcing themselves, or parents were forcing themselves into that epidemic that wasn't necessarily them. And I don't think parents are ever going to force you into entrepreneurship. Right. I don't think it's going to go that far. But no one talks about.
Here's
they don't talk about depression. They don't talk about some of the suicide. They don't talk about some of the things that are real stressors with young entrepreneurs.
When you're trying to force it, and what's probably going to happen with a lot of those kids is they're going to be so focused on the followers and how many likes that they got and how many subscribers they have on their YouTube channel that they're missing the cowboy aspect. And what I like about us, and this is like the wrong kind of breaking the rules, is buying your followers, buying your subscribers. The right kind of breaking the rules and being a cowboy is just not giving a fuck about how many subscribers you have, and you're still putting out good content day after day after day with the best quality there is, because you're a fucking cowboy, man. You don't do anything that's not good quality, right?
Right, and true to yourself. Like, you got to be
yourself. Yeah.
So if what you're doing is against the grain, but that's like, let's give an example.
Yeah.
Because I think most importantly, especially for like young listeners, we have a lot of young listeners. That's cool, man. That's super cool. I kind of feel like a big brother, but so let's give an example to that. You and I we're fit moderately, right? Yeah, like, you might be more fit than me. Me in person, and I'm not bragging, I'm just going to be very matter of fact. I get, especially, and we're talking the scope of real estate.
Right.
If I walk up to a crowd of people at the Olympia, no, man, nobody's scared of me. Nobody's looking at me like, oh, wow.
Right.
No, man, I'm a bigger guy, but not in that grand scheme. Like, no, man. However, in Denver, and I'm in real estate, I'd like to say I'm one of the bigger guys as far as fit.
Yeah.
There's guy like right now I'm down to 250, right? At 6 foot, almost 6'1" on my best day, right? Yeah. 250. And for a while it's 265. So, but usually, and this is no disrespect to anyone, when you see someone my body weight in real estate, they're obese, they're fat, they're overweight, they're whatever word you want to put on. They're just a bigger person.
Or fuck any industry outside of bodybuilding.
Any industry, right? Just overweight people. But for me, man, like I definitely get a unique look from people when I walk into a room for a buyer or listing prezo, because I don't think I'm what people expect.
Right.
You're still extremely fit for our industry and what people expect, and then we're both tattooed, right? Like, I'm tatted to the gills. You're getting there, right? Like, if you hang out with me another day, you're going to get more. And your wife likes it.
No kidding. I know,
right?
too,
so like, I'm like putting money away every commission
combo.
check I get to get you some more shit, right?
Right.
And we don't cover it up.
Yeah.
We're not, and this is nothing against suits. So I'm not saying that suits are the wrong thing in real estate. Not at all.
Yeah.
If that's who you are, cool, but at the same time, like, you and I are just, we get a better response and we're more comfortable wearing the clothes that we choose to wear and not choosing to cover up and hide tattoos, but expose them and almost enjoy exposing who we are. And there's a great reaction. But again, like, there's a lot of people that cover a lot of things up or dress a certain way because the masses dress a certain way. And of course I do my laundry. Of course my shirts are dry cleaned and they're pressed and they look nice, but they're not suits.
Right.
So trying to give an example here as far as like, especially for an industry, if you're familiar at all with real estate, we don't look like that at all.
No.
But we're a top 1% producing team nationwide. Like we do incredibly well. We've got a great team, and our team is not a bunch of bros. We've got women from 55 years old, to our age, all the way down to their mid-20s. And some of them are soccer moms that kick ass, and you'd be surprised how strong some of those women are, but they don't necessarily look like us. So as far as like that cowboy sense, I'm trying to give, and please help me out here if you can add on to it, but this is one example of you and I are kind of like cowboys, I guess, in real estate as far as just being against the grain. But again, I'm not forcing that. I get a better response. Not in a suit. If you put a suit on me, I look like a CIA agent.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
I'm just too big of a guy, and it's almost too intimidating. And you and I do a lot with our sphere and our friends. So when people remember me from the gym, or they remember me from a family barbecue, and then I show up in a suit, they're almost like, "What's the catch?" Well, you getting all sales? You know what I mean? It's hard. Now, if I paid for all of my leads, and I'm trying to get some, and people expected that.
You've got that one first impression.
But maybe that's what they want. There might be some people that just want their realtor to look like that. And God bless Gary Vee for just knowing his shit and doing so well and wearing a hoodie, because I think allows people to just pay more attention to people's proficiency versus what they're wearing, but for the longest time, like what you wear, it was like so important that you're dressed up, and like you and I are not that, and we're successful right now. We're we got a long way to go, but especially for the duration of time that we've been here, we're crushing, and we don't look anything like anyone. But I want to preface that for the young listeners, like, we didn't come up with some idea to like, hey, how can we just look different than everyone?
Yeah, we're not trying to do anything. And here's the thing too, you kind of go through your phases. Like, I know when I first started real estate, prior to working with you, I wore my like button up collar t-shirt and my black dress pants. No, I mean like tucked in, ironed, like that whole deal. I know. And it was terrible. And it didn't like hurt me or anything, but I also don't feel like that was exactly me. The reaction that I get from people when I put on what I want to wear today, within reason, right? Within reason.
You and I tend to wear Levi's, like just
it's
nice
authentic, dude.
And
for me, it helps with self-confidence too, which, that takes you, 1,000 steps forward in business when you're confident in your delivery. And then, people are looking at you and they're like, wow, they're not what it adds to the whole just appeal of what are these guys? What are they? They're different, right?
Look, man, they can't quite put you in a box.
Right.
I don't want to be in any box.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a circle. I'm just not a
circle. One of the things I've got here, man, is, being a cowboy, breaking the rules, understanding that there's, in entrepreneurship, there's really no rules for you to follow.
Yeah, and I'm trying not to cut you off again. I'm cutting you. I think, and by the way, before you went on vacation, you were like all over my shit, so I don't want to hear a word.
Shit.
But when we talk about breaking the rules, right? Like, we're not talking about like rules that like the real estate commission put out. So, but for example, going back to our attire, that's kind of like metaphorically breaking a rule. Like, we don't look cookie cutter. We're not in suits. Like, we do show a ton of tattoos everywhere we go.
Because we are in like a board certified licensed position, there are literal rules that we have to follow. But speaking to the grand scheme of just entrepreneurs in general, and just that open playing field that it is, I think having that whatever it takes mentality of, all right, because there really aren't any rules in this area, and because I'm a cowboy and because I'm confident in myself, you do develop that mentality of, hey, I'm going to do whatever it takes to feed myself, feed my horse, make sure my wife and kids are protected on the prairie. And that when I
thought he was going to say hose. I did. I thought horse was hose, and my butt was puckered, and I was like, where is this going? And I'm going to hear a knock, and it's going to be Megan.
That's hilarious.
But it's your horse. I'm glad you have a horse.
Making sure your horse is fed and taken care of.
We don't feed those hoes.
And at the end of the day, man,
you're like cats, right? That neighborhood cat, it just keeps coming back to the door, bro. We can't do it.
I wouldn't know, Will. I wouldn't know.
Shut your mouth.
But dude, having whatever it takes, man, makes obstacles so much easier to handle. Something comes in your way, you're like, hey, whatever it takes, moving around.
And you're also accepting responsibility. Yes. So you're in a place where, and not you specifically, but you in general, like just for the sake of the conversation, like you end up, when you accept responsibility and you're being that entrepreneur and you're doing whatever it takes, like everything is on your shoulders. There is no one else to blame, but there's some freedom in that, right? And it alleviates you spending time wasted on pointing a finger, blaming other circumstances versus just focusing on that obstacle and making sure that, no matter what it takes, you're going to get the job done. We did the same thing in the Marine Corps.
That's the cowboy aspect right there, dude. Like when you're in, like we always talk about, when you know your basics, when you're brilliant at the basics, when you know you're proficient at what it is that you do, and you have that self-confidence that, FYI, develops over years of doing your craft, guys and young entrepreneurs that are listening. You may not have that confidence yet, and that's okay. That'll develop.
That's why I'm such a fan, not to make people be like me.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm such a fan of like youngsters. Like even if you are like an entrepreneur blood, like just going and experiencing other stuff, other industries, or just different chains of command, and just building that perspective. I think it helps with not only your self-awareness, but it also helps with just your delivery and just checking off a ton of boxes of what to do and what not to do, and just taking things that you like from one thing and leaving stuff from another that you don't, and then applying that, to
going and getting a damn job. That's breaking entrepreneur rule 101 right there. I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to go get a job.
You're having a bad day. It's hard today. Hey, go be a Walmart greeter. No, even worse than that. Because Walmart greeter could be fun. You do that, right?
Yeah.
And you could be passing out your fucking your hype CD while you're being a
right.
What do we call those? Your
mixtape.
Your mixtape. You could be handing out a mixtape being a Walmart greeter. Now, if you're at the register bagging groceries, right? Not as fun.
Well,
right?
fuck, man. Like, and that's what I did. Like, you can learn some shit, and that's something that you could literally go do. When I was flipping homes and personal training, I went and worked for a mortgage company. I got a W-2 job, a real job, 9 to 5.
How was that?
Actually great. Yeah, actually great. I was there like year and a half or so, like I don't think 2 years. But dude, I learned so much shit about real estate and that back end of the real estate industry that most realtors don't even know.
See, and that's the research and development. And that's like in the Marine Corps, what we call like reconnaissance, right? Like just being able to just know your battlefield the best you can before you actually dive into it. And we were talking to Fat a little while ago, and I guess no, you were on vacation drinking margaritas. Fat and I were working our asses off,
right,
and talking, And I'm joking, by the way.
It was Corona.
It was Corona. Yeah. But he, and it was interesting when Fat was like, "Yeah, man, when I decided to kind of dive into this, he didn't work for a year. He just started taking courses online and YouTubing and buying programs and just diving into videography and editing and just how to do it. And he spent an entire year just prepping before he even entered that battlefield. And even now, like, he's not a podcast guy. No. But now he is.
Yep.
We want, like, and there you go, breaking rules, like, like just creating, like, hey, we've got an audience and people want to hear some things. And, like, do we want to talk about real estate? No, we don't. Why? Well, we want to apply it to just entrepreneurship in general. This isn't a scope of real estate. This is a scope of just being creative and understanding how to create a hustle and just understanding pipelines and how one thing can derive from another. You know what I mean? And like, dude, as this podcast continues to grow, can this be a source of income? Ask Joe Rogan, and we're not Joe Rogan today. And that's okay, but being consistent and growing this the right way and not being romantic with what we try to approach and what we try to do and some of the creative ideas we have for the podcast specifically as it grows. Yeah, man, you bet your ass that could be bigger than real estate all on its own. So it's that entrepreneur mentality of just paying attention to your battlefield and noticing when opportunities present themselves and then taking advantage of it. And, when we were doing this, we built this table, right? Ordered it up, built it up, got what we needed, like started looking and, hey,
figure it out, dude.
What type of video is good? What type of video is not good? And then Fat's not an incredible audio guy. He looked it up, figured it out, like, let's ball out, let's do it. And like, here we are. And I think I'm looking at him and he's got a paranoid look. So I hope we're still streaming live because I'm complimenting him and he's like biting his nails right now. And I'm like, is it frozen again? And he doesn't want to tell me. Oh, he's shaking his head. No,
good.
All right, we're good. No, we're good. Or no, we're not. We're good. We're good. But just having that, like that cowboy mentality of like, Fat could have been like, hey, hey, I don't do that stuff. So, right? Like, hey, are we all together in this and ride or die and doing our thing? And like, yeah, Fat Cowboy's up and learns how to do it. And lo and behold, like, hey, he's pretty good at it. And then now, out of all things Fat likes to do, right? It's not boring ass real estate that he likes to do. It's not walking through houses. Fat's like, hey, I love the podcast. I love doing that.
Right.
An Asian cowboy.
Dude, Shanghai Noon.
Shanghai Noon.
Yeah. Shanghai Noon, bro. Hey, somebody look that up. I want to get some Shanghai Noon quotes for Fat to say next time. But I'm definitely not Owen Wilson. But these are all great points, man. And I know you've got some notes.
Yep.
I've got one, cheat codes, like breaking all the rules and then, like.
Let me give you a quick lead into that.
Quick. Cutting me off.
Before you continue.
Giving me a lead in.
So I heard this quote a little while ago, and I'm always super careful who I say
I said it.
Probably. I'm always super cautious who I say this quote to because I know it can be taken out of context, and I know people just listening to it now might have.
You ain't trying.
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
if you're not cheating, you're not trying, dude.
You're an integrity violator,
dude. And that thing clicked with me because I just got it. I understood where it was coming from, and I'll let you take it from there. But if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Will's touching on some cheat codes.
I'm not touching
Take it away.
I have integrity. Like, no, here's the deal, man. Depending on how people take that, is really. That's where just intent, like, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Like some people might take that as in like
shortcuts,
sign documents for your clients.
Right.
No, I did not say sign documents for your clients.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like for me, the cheat code is work. Like I'm thinking of like, Kate plays, she loves anime, plays video games, the hottest gamer I've ever seen in my life. Right. I don't know how I ended up with her. but it's baller. I'm trying to convince her to like play games in like what Instagram girls play games in. Naked. Yeah. She looks at me all
live
stupid.
Stream. Yeah.
I haven't exactly like asked her that. And we got 2 kids. Probably not very feasible. Whatever. Sidetrack. But I'm thinking like those cheat codes of like, hey, you could buy this and get to a higher level. But you're okay, so you get to the higher level. All right, you're still going to get murdered because there's good players. Or you can get the cheat codes where you just don't die at all. Well, now you're not playing the game. Now you're not playing. There's no risk. Like if you're an entrepreneur spending your daddy's money all the time, like, well, there's no more risk anymore. You don't have any skin in the game. So the cheat code of where, you don't die at all, you might as well not even play that game. Like there's got to be risk involved.
Yeah.
So for me, okay, you get cheat codes and you get more bonus points or more bullets or a higher level, but if you're not prepared for that level, you're still going to get smoked.
Yes.
So that's for me where it's like, instead of trying to do that, why don't you just put more time in?
Yep.
Like, why don't you cheat the game, right? Why don't you cheat the hustle, especially like in real estate? Like, people aren't working, man. The stuff that I've been exposed to, and don't get me wrong, man, I'm super stoked for our achievements that we've had. But our achievements, I feel, are partially because, hey, we're talented and we've done some great things. The other side is people just aren't fucking working, and we're just big fish in small ponds.
Right.
And no disrespect to ourselves, but look, man, anything we accomplish in a year and a half that's that outstanding, you have to question your audience or your competition.
Right.
You know, so for me, but then I start seeing that and I go, oh, you don't want to eat. Okay, like so for me, like the cheat codes are like working on social media campaigns at night.
More.
You know, like with my Instagram. Like I've been organically growing 400 followers in 90 days. Dude, you see me during my day. I'm not off my phone. Like I'm messaging every single follower. Hey, appreciate the follow. It's a big. I'm not copy and pasting either. I'm looking at their page and I'm thanking them. You know, and
that's the cheat.
It creates
right
interaction.
Right.
And before then you get some shout outs from. I got a shout out from a pretty big page, and that helped a ton. But then you still got to go back and do those messages and do the grunt work, do that just. Dirty work that everybody wants a shortcut. And I always relate this to fitness too. Like whatever diet pill you think is out there are some diet pills that are going to suppress appetite. There are some diet pills or supplements that can help burn body fat, but it will not outperform a bad diet. It just won't. You got to put the time in. So for me, the cheat code is what everyone else isn't doing.
Yes.
And that's putting in the time. That's like, okay, you're doing real estate or whatever your business is during the day. Cool, right? And you're hustling, you're doing your thing, and you're meeting your clients. And what are you doing at night? Everybody's watching Netflix or what? Like, all right, hey, kiddos are in bed. I could get back on my phone.
Yep.
Send messages out. They don't see them right away at night because it's like, I don't care. They'll see them the next day. All good. But, or just thinking of ideas, brainstorming podcast ideas, building different social media campaigns, editing photos. Like, Fat does a ton of our stuff, obviously, right? But then I've been having some fun with editing photos for fun every once in a while. So for me, that's like the break in the rules where it's like, no, I'm not a photo editor. No, I'm not a marketer. No, I'm not a brand builder. No, I don't have a degree in business. But for some reason, we're really fucking good at all of it. And I think that's your entrepreneur. That's your cowboy. Like a cowboy doesn't need someone to take care of his horse, doesn't need him to clean his guns, doesn't need someone to teach him how to shoot his guns, doesn't need someone to teach him how to ride. Like he kind of he's his own little utopia, and he's self-sufficient at everything he does, and he's good at everything he does, and he survives. It's the same thing as an entrepreneur. The more that you can place upon yourself to be proficient at, I know Gary Vee talks a lot about, hey, whatever you suck at, hire it out. Cool, but I think the context behind that is like you really have to suck at it and just not grasp it.
Yeah, right.
Versus like, did you really even try at that before you just paid someone to go do it? And are you bleeding out because you're paying too much money for different stuff? But just that hustle, and just being, and even if you do pay something, like obviously Fat's done a ton of our content, I should still see it. You should still be writing the content, writing the paragraphs, writing the message behind things. And in my Instagram, Fat does a lot of he's done some of the photos or videos, but I do the write-up. Well, and like it's got to, like you can't outsource a personal brand.
That's kind of the asterisk to that quote, right? If you're not cheating, you're not trying. Asterisk. Side note, most cheating requires a shit ton of more hard work. But it's actually going to pay off. And like for you and I, a good example that I think of, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, is us pairing up and becoming a partnership and doing everything together.
Leverage.
Because dude, leveraging. I'm always looking for that X factor and what's going to give us an unfair advantage. Hey, can I walk into a listing presentation for a seller, who I'm trying to convince to give me $20,000 to sell their home and do all right? Yeah. Can I walk in there with you and do 10 times better with the same amount of effort on my end? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a cheat code right there, dude.
It's a cheat code. And I like the cheat code phrase. I know if you're not cheating, you're not trying, gets taken out of context a lot, but I also like breaking all the rules. Breaking all the rules is like just thinking outside of the box and being creative. And like if people found out like, wait, okay, but so you guys are doubling up, but you're splitting your deals together. Yep. So isn't that the same? No.
Because 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 here.
No. And that's where it's like, hey, if that's what you think, like I can't talk to you. Yep. I'm not the best guy for you because you're not an entrepreneur. Like you're not understanding at scale the atmospherics of how people feel during a listing presentation. Yep. The atmospherics of leveraging someone alongside of you with a podcast. The atmospherics of going and doing an event and having 2 different personalities that vibe well together. What that scales into, you know what I mean? Like it's hard if people don't understand that, then they're missing it. It's like, yeah, you and I split every deal. But if we're doing this many more deals together, then no, it's more money. And well, now we have a team together.
Yes.
So now we're scaling and leveraging a team of 10 agents, right?
And that's where you and I do save a lot of time because there's a lot of things you're great at with the team they come to you for. There's a lot of things I'm good at that they come to me for.
Yeah.
And that's where you and I do get to save some time, and we give the team a feeling of having 2 people that they can go to.
And time off.
Right.
Like all joking aside, like you took a
vacation. Right.
Dude, but here's the deal. Like those things are needed. And it's hard for solo entrepreneurs sometimes if they're running that company by themselves. It's like if they go, they're still super stressed out or they can't get away from work. You and I still spoke plenty while you were gone, but updates and keeping you posted and just letting you know like the house isn't on fire, right? We're good. At least you can still separate and just be present with where you're at and then enjoy that. And if, if I take one, same thing, right? So you can leverage time off as well. And it's important to understand that. And there's that might be the Marine Corps in me. Because look, man, we didn't do anything. No one got anywhere by themselves. And growing up in an era when combat was heavy, look, man, that was taught. Like you're not going to go win that war by yourself. You might get shot right in your ass, boy. Right. 5 minutes into it. Then what?
Yeah.
Where's your cheat code? You don't have one. You're shot in the ass. That's real. Like it's going to hurt. You know what I mean? And you're going to have guys help get you out. So I think that's super important. So yeah, but again, it's like, I guess that could be if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, but we're not really cheating by. I just want to be careful with people taking that out of context.
Which is exactly why I rarely say that. But cheating the game,
it's like, hey, think against the grain. Like when you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, you're thinking about real estate, and like, wait, these guys own a networking group based around fitness, but is solely for realtors and lenders.
Right.
Interesting.
Weird.
Oh, hey, you have a podcast that's built upon like speaking about our process and documenting day one, $0 and how we've grown and where we're at. Interesting. All while still leveraging our own company, our own personal sales, team sales, and then building a brand around that. Just the olive branches that kind of grow from everything, I think, is what's important. So it's kind of like, yeah, you're cheating the game. Like you're taking it so much further. You're taking it outside of that comfortable box that most people like to take it. And we're putting out quality work. And this is super huge, because if you want to be the cowboy or be against the grain or do different shit, like that's fine. But if we didn't have a quality podcast, if we didn't have quality things to talk about, if what we were talking,
sucked at selling homes,
dude, if what we were talking about didn't work out with our day job, if we were unsuccessful, none of this would matter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is where you got to be careful. And dude, I was a little bit of a cowboy in the Marine Corps, but I was really fucking good at what I did. And with what I did there and with, with work for the government and police work after that, like, you kind of have to have a chip on your shoulder to be successful in that world.
Dude, I bet, man.
Right? But here's why I think I thrive in entrepreneurship, because it's like, that's my next mission. And our battlefield is so unknown, but so unlimited.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think once I started figuring that out, like once I started, like,
once I
got a little taste of like, hey, not only is this battlefield unknown, hey, bro, it's unlimited. That's like, remember the old Minecraft where you would just run into a wall and like it just won't let you go anywhere? Like, all right, I'll go back to
right.
Dude, there's none of that in entrepreneurship. Yeah. Like, you can take real estate and it dives into this, which dives into that. And dude, you never know what you're going to end up in 20 years. And you go, well, it all came from this, but then I met this guy who knew this guy, who introduced me to this guy. You just never know where it's going to pop off and what you're good at. And I think, again, just coming from my background, I absolutely love the thought of just unlimited access to mission accomplishment.
Whatever you want to do. Well,
there's always a new battle.
You know, why the cowboy mentality is so critical and pairs so well with breaking the rules is because whenever you do start breaking the rules, you're going to have people that doubt you. You're going to have people that try and talk you out of it. You're going to have naysayers. And if you don't have that cowboy mentality of, hey, I don't give a shit what you think. I know what I'm doing is the right path. And hey, if it's not, I'll adjust and figure it out still. I'm good. But the amount of people that, you know, are probably looking at this podcast who know we're in real estate and they're like, are you podcast or how does podcast tie into real estate? You know, guys, it's really kind of a distraction for you to do this and not focus on your real estate. Like, there's people out there that think that. And if you don't have that cowboy mindset like we do of just, hey, we don't care what you think. We're going to be successful at all of this and it's all going to work and we don't need to explain it to you. You have to have that cowboy mentality.
You do. Well, and here's the deal too, man. Like when people, I love telling this story because I thought it was going to get me in super trouble, but it didn't. But you know, it was like Kate and I's relationship. I remember I was bringing Fat on, right? And she asked me about my day. And by the way, full context, she loves fat. She's not negative toward fat. But I was talking to her, and this is sometimes what you and I forget a year and a half in, you know, because we brought Fat on super quick, full time. And, and I remember I came home one day and I was talking about it. And she's like, it was just a, hey, how's your day? And I'm like, yeah, hey, I had a meeting with Fat and this and that. I'm going to be behind these cameras and we're doing this and doing that. And like, dude, I was still, you know, like we were established, but we're not like that established, you know what I mean? Like, and I remember she was coming off protective, not toward Fat, but toward growth, toward, well, is that what you're ready for? This? So it wasn't a Fat thing. It was a full-time videographer. Oh, and you're buying equipment for that, and that's expensive. And so it wasn't like a don't believe in Fat thing. It was just creating that position thing. And I remember telling her, and I was like, hey, I'm not asking for your permission, nor was I asking for your opinion. You know what I mean? And like I saw that Filipino side for a second. I saw that eye squint, you know what I mean? Like where like she's throwing something at me and she's gonna be speaking Tagalog.
Kate's also super logical.
Well, thanks for saving me. But then I helped myself and I was like, hey, you got some things in the mix, and I don't want to mention it. She's got some really cool stuff in the mix with her dad, with what she wants to build. And I said, hey, I don't ever speak to that. If you ever ask me my opinion, I'll give you what I can, but I don't have the context. And she goes, nope, you're right. You know, and I go, hey, you know, I appreciate it, but here's the deal. I don't ever want you to feel obligated that because we're together, that you like have this need to give me your opinion.
Right.
It's unfair. It's unfair for her to just have to be obligated. And I think sometimes we do feel like that when we have a partner, you know, whether we're married or boyfriend and girlfriend, like we have this obligation that we got to give our opinion, or that person is expecting the opinion, so we have to give it. And it's like, no, I don't, because here's the deal. Like, you don't have any context of every single thing that I do every day and every single conversation or plan or just scope to what Fat and I have spoken about up to this moment that's leading to the next step. So one, you can't speak to it. Secondly, I would feel bad if you would think that I would expect you to do something that I just know you're not going to be successful at, you know? So when people want to tell you as an entrepreneur, so some of you young entrepreneurs out there, or maybe you're maybe even worse than young entrepreneurs are like entrepreneurs that are 40 that have already had the day job and they have the bills and the life and this image. And sometimes it's harder to undo that versus like just being the kid who's like, oh, you're still young and dumb. Yeah, you're a dreamer, but it's acceptable versus these older entrepreneurs that are really starting to come out and unwind and backtrack a little bit to do it. You know, like, yeah, you have to be hardened and you have to just understand like, hey, sometimes people just want to care and give you opinion, but like, is it accurate? Like, do they have enough context to speak to you? And then secondly, here's the deal. If you're going to confidently be able to like not give a shit, like you're saying, like just not give a fuck and just do what you're going to do your best to think it out the best you can.
Yes.
Or like have somewhat of a plan. Like I don't want people thinking that you and I just go rocking out with our whatever's out all day, every day. Yeah, fuck the world. Like, no. There's still rhyme and reason and plan. And under, like, for the cowboy analogy that we're using today, if he's going up north from Denver to San Francisco for the gold rush, okay, he's against the grain and he's he's the dreamer. He's gone from town to town, but I bet he packs enough food and enough water.
Right.
And I bet he's taking care of his horse.
Yep.
And I bet he's got some type of understanding on which path to take and how to avoid Indians. I don't fucking know, right?
Yep.
Like, I'm guessing there's some rhyme and reason and there's some method to his madness, you know, and it was the same thing that we had in the Marine Corps, man. We still had plans and we fell back on fundamentals because you can't plan for everything in those eras, but or in those realms. But it's the same thing with entrepreneurship. It's really hard not to listen to everyone if you don't have a plan, or if you haven't thought your own process, and then people start walking up to you and they're giving you thoughts that you haven't thought for yourself. You're not prepared. So I don't want this image or this analogy today of being a cowboy is just like some free-spirited gunslinger that doesn't have a plan. No. There's a lot more method to his madness in his head.
Yeah,
there
is.
And like I've mentioned Cerrone before, like that dude's awesome, right? And he's partying and he living life and jet skiing and all that stuff. Don't think that guy doesn't train.
Don't
think that he's not prepared. Yeah, don't think he doesn't visualize and doesn't train and doesn't put his body through hell so he can fucking rock out when he sees you in that ring and beat the shit out of you. You know what I mean? And so I just hope, especially like I say, for newer, younger entrepreneurs, like there's still some rhyme and reason. There's still a ton of direction and preparation to everything that we do.
And dues that need to be paid, man. And that's why I'm glad we brought up getting a job, right, in the industry that you're interested in. Like, I think there's a lot to be said about, again, a cowboy isn't afraid to break rules and go get a job, get his hands dirty, right? Like, you're not there forever. Go there, learn some shit. That was my college, dude. Like, I knew I was getting into real estate. I knew I wanted to be around the people that were in that company, and that the guy that was leading that company, I just wanted to be around him. Yeah, bro, sign me up. Get me a job. I'll show up every day after I train people all morning, and then before I go and work on the homes after that.
And then what if he says no?
No what? No,
because I got a note down, not taking no for an answer.
Yeah. Oh,
right,
yeah.
like,
well, if he says no, cool. All right, man, adjust, go somewhere else.
So go somewhere else. Sometimes I think we get super motivated.
Yeah.
And then we hear a no, and then some people want to cash in. Or they've heard, I've heard 50 no's.
Bro,
so.
Yeah, it could be the 51st. And guess what? It's probably the 1,000th no. Keep going, man. And guess what? If you can't take those 50 no's, you might be better off going and getting a job instead of trying to be an entrepreneur. I think that's a cowboy thing right there, man. Like, just knowing, hey, I gave this a shot. This is not for me. I want my 401k. I want my paycheck every other week. I want my 2 weeks of vacation every year. I'm happy there, right?
Well, and maybe... And this is, I'm glad you said that, because, this podcast is geared toward entrepreneurs and stuff, and cool. But, I've always said it, I think Bruce Willis said it, didn't he? Like on, what movie? Was it Armageddon? When he's like, cowboy the fuck up and put that drill through that rock or whatever the fuck. And obviously Bruce Willis isn't the originator of that term cowboy up, but I like it. And sometimes it's almost more important for people that do live in that corporate America world. And it's like, man, I love the thought of visualization, and I love compartmentalizing. And hey, when you leave that job, man, turn up some country music in your car and rock out to that, or whatever you like listening to, and then maybe you go to the gym, or maybe you go to jujitsu, or or whatever you're doing. But no, man, you get to be whoever you want, and that's why I love the gym too. It's like, man, you can turn on a podcast. You might be listening to us right now, or you're going to the gym, jujitsu, or you're gonna go play some ball with your kids. Like, you can visualize and kind of be whoever you want now. So I almost sometimes feel like, it's super important for entrepreneurs, man, to visualize and have the right direction, because it is such a free world. It's such a free fall. I'm like, it can eat you up or it can catapult you depending on how you approach it. There's a lot, so there's definitely a lot with structure and direction. And in our world as entrepreneurs, you're going to get a lot of no's. Right, but you have the freedom of going somewhere else. You're gonna get a lot of like having to think against the grain, having to think outside of the box, because it's like, what are you gonna do to have that next edge? What are you doing different than everyone else to have an edge? Versus people that are in people that are in corporate America. Like, if you have an idea and your boss says no, you don't go to your boss's boss and say that idea, right? Because then your boss will come back to you and like, you're fired, bro. You can't just jump your chain of command. Like, sometimes, like, there's a lot of restriction to, hey, I don't have an option. When I hear a no, it's a no. But that's also why I think it's so important to get involved in jiu-jitsu, get involved in the gym, get involved in flag football and you're thinking that you're Peyton Manning, you're the sheriff, man, just gunslinging. And a lot of high-powered athletes, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people, they do visualize themselves a certain way. And I think that that's super important, even if you're only going to get away for 2 hours and you're playing some flag football before you go home.
Yeah.
Man, be that guy. Be whoever you wear your old guy's favorite jersey on, man, and imagine being him, or you're playing in the Super Bowl. Who cares if you're 40 and you're playing flag football? You can still imagine, like, just being in that Super Bowl or whatever. Just enjoy it. Just embrace it. Have some fun with it. And I think you and I get to do so much of that because that's what our job is reliant upon. Creativity. What are you going to do that no one else is doing? You know, being against the grain to an extent can be encouraged as long as you're proficient. And like for you and I.
And it's authentic.
No one really shuns us, man.
No, not at all.
Maybe because we're bigger. I don't know. But nobody in our day-to-day contact really does anything but encourage everything that we're doing. However, they also see how prepped we are.
Yeah.
They see how professional we are. They see how well we handle clients. They see how well we handle contracts. They see how quality our podcast is. Like, they see that our thoughts are put together. So they can see our product full circle.
Yes.
You know, so it'd be weird for someone to not encourage what we're doing. But again, we're in this world of entrepreneurship where, you're the next best thing, or you're creative, or you're just thinking outside of the box, or maybe, you know, or just who you are in general. Like, I get a lot of reaction of just who I am. Like, I'm not trying. Just who I am creates a ruckus. It creates great conversations, or people just got to come up and like tell me their favorite cop story, or ask me what the hell happened. Like, you get stung by a bee. I don't know. Like, just me walking into a room, it creates some entertaining conversations sometimes, you know? So in our world, I think we're using that to our advantage versus people that maybe aren't in that entrepreneurship world. Like, it's a little bit more restricted, but that's why, again, it might be more important for you to get to that jiu-jitsu gym, to get to the traditional gym, to go play that flag football and just get a release. Go be whoever you want to be for a couple of hours, you know, and come home a little less stressed, you know?
I want to touch on something here because I had an interesting conversation with the guy this weekend.
Hold on, what guy are you talking to on vacation?
You were with the guy this weekend. You FaceTimed me.
What guy?
You FaceTimed me when at that barbecue
was
on
our
Saturday.
Client.
And
who had a dildo on his door.
He did. It was a doorstop. Yeah.
Fat, remember that? Remember that gag gift from that closing? So he put it on his door, on the back door of his house. And he's using it as like a door stop, so his door doesn't hit the outside of his house.
It's so funny,
and it just bounces. It works. It's super proficient. Yeah.
So as we're talking about being a cowboy and stuff, one thing I want to touch on is it doesn't always mean
to this guy.
Yeah, but it doesn't always mean like being fancy, right?
Nope.
Sometimes it means being, again, just really good at your craft and taking pride in that. And I was at a barbecue, and this guy I was talking to owns his own barber shop. His grandfather started it. His dad took it over. He just bought it earlier this year or last July. And I'm talking to him, and I'm like, yeah, man, so, you know, what do you guys like specialize in? What do you do over there? And he goes, man, we just give regular haircuts, but they're barbers, right? Like, they're dudes, regular haircuts. And this light bulb went off, and I'm like, dude, that is so awesome with barbers now. Like, that's all popular and shit. But I mean, like, every barber is popular. Like, they're getting more popular. You see the guys with their straight razor line part and the fades, where everyone's about the fades and the straight razors and all this shit right now.
The greasers.
And I'm like, what about the 80% of dudes that just want a normal haircut?
Yeah.
And he's like, yup. He's like, dude, that's our guy, man. The regular dad who works his IT job, and he doesn't want to fade. He just wants a regular damn haircut.
Or maybe a conversation.
In a conversation.
Barbershops
Dude.
are unique, man. Barbershops create some really cool atmospherics. Sometimes that's like a man's support group. That's like the one place a guy can go to where maybe his lady doesn't think he's cheating because she actually believes he wants to go there. I'm being funny. I'm not accusing any girls of being crazy.
But dude,
there's some good atmospherics there.
That just goes to show that I'm like, man, I said that's gangster right there. Like that, you're just, dude.
You're just being true to who you are, right? And you not necessarily and you don't necessarily have to make it more than it is. So when we talk about like being against the grain or like being over the top for the sake of being over the top, no, man, like that's not good. Like, are you and I over the top? I don't think so. I think we're creative. I think we're just being true to who we are. This podcast organically grew, you know, between the three of us, you know, things that we're doing with FitWorks. FitWorks just organically grew. We were doing videos once a week. And now that you and I have quote unquote real jobs, because you're not in a gym and I'm not at that fitness company, people were curious how we were keeping our diet and exercise on point the best that we could while still helping clients. We were getting the most traction off of those videos.
The fitness videos, yeah.
Yeah, so we were doing videos every Friday before this podcast. We were doing videos every Friday, on our social media. And out of all the videos we did, the most traction, and it was, bless your heart, is your idea, your stupid idea. I remember the first one. You want to go Facebook Live and talk about fitness? I'm like, fuck, bro. No, man. Like, I've been in fitness forever. I want to talk about something. I don't care what we talk about. I'm talking about ducks. I don't care. Yeah. Like, no, but we did it, and of course,
so
it had
many
like
comments.
Some of the comments were us, but it had like 89 comments. That damn thing. So we're like, all right, well, let's do that some more. And then before you know it was like, well, why don't we just make a networking group? Aren't there other networking groups out there called networks and places that cost money?
BNI, Master Networks.
Why don't we just make one for free? Call it FitWorks, as in being fit works. Yep. And then let's go over psychologically and physically the benefits of diet, nutrition, and then how to incorporate that into our world. And yes, it's only for lenders and realtors because that's our world. We do it, midday when it's usually slow for our types of careers, and lenders and realtors can get away. But it's also fun to contribute and just give back to our industry. And it's been phenomenal. So we didn't plan that. So we're not being over the top. We're not being different for the sake of being different. Something bloomed. It was like, hey, there's a demand here, and just being sensitive to that and responding by taking action. That's where the Cowboy comes in.
Right.
Just cowboy up, man. Just have some fun with it. Like, hey, fuck it. Let's just, other big companies have made a networking group. Why the fuck can't we? Oh, we can. Cool. Let's do it. Right. And then we rock out and we do it. But we're not doing it for the sake of being different. We're not doing it, but it's not true to who we are. And then again, but you have the opposite where you've got this gentleman who owns a barbershop, and could they get more creative or do other stuff? Yeah, but that's not them. So it would be for the sake of just doing it.
Yeah.
And I think it would hurt you because people know that that's not you.
It would, dude. And again, and that's the thing. And it's like, man, I love that because he's not trying to be fancy. He's not, hey, things are successful. I like the regular dude needs a haircut. And I told him, I'm like, yeah, bro, like, where does the regular guy go? Like, Sports Clips sucks. He got some cosmetologist who knows nothing about. She's not a barber. She doesn't know men's hair.
Those places are hard, huh?
Dude, they are hard, man. They're super hard.
They got all these girls dressing in miniskirts now for like the haircuts, and it costs you $30. Well, and I guess she puts a hot towel on your neck.
Well, and he told me this too. He goes, hey, bro, those are legitimately cosmetologists. They're not barbers. They didn't go to barber school. They go to cosmetology school with a little bit of hair, makeup, this, nails,
and they kind of learn to fade, but a barber's a lot more advanced, and they can straight razor and do different things. And dude, something like, I know sex appeal sells, and men, I get it. We're idiots, right? So
not with my hair.
Listen, if there's any females listening, I know we're idiots. I'm not even defending mankind, okay? Menkind, not mankind. That's both, but we're idiots. And I get that, hey, sex sells and young, cute little whatever's, true to an extent. But men also is, even though we don't talk about it as much, right? Like, we do enjoy how we look. We do want to take care of how we look. We are cognizant of what our hair looks like. And you might go there one time, maybe, I don't know, like I don't use those places, but maybe a guy goes there and maybe at first he thinks that's a cute idea, but here's the deal. Like, you mess his hair up, right? And like, it's just not for him. And like, there are some things for guys where we do just want guy talk. We do just want a good haircut.
Or no talk. Just sit the fuck down and cut my hair. Yeah. And I can leave.
Yeah. I mean, you talk. You are a co-owner of a podcast.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Maybe you do want no talk.
Yeah.
Maybe we're talky way too much.
Yeah. I honestly like just.
But I like that. I like when it. But again, I'm sure like, people have given that guy ideas, or I don't know, or business is good.
Hey,
so
why don't you do this? Why don't you do this?
Well, and that's the other thing with business and writing momentum. Like, business is good, so you start thinking of like what else you could do versus like, no, just continue to triple down on what's working. You don't have to go add a ton of shit to this thing. Like, it's working. Let it work. Just triple down on it. But I like when someone can just be like, look, man, this is what we do. This is how we do it, and we're good with that. Because I respect that just as much as like if you and I want to do several different things, as long as we can manage it and it's proficient and it's to the quality that we want it.
Yes.
And there's a delivery to it, and it's helping someone. Hey, cool. I think you and I should cowboy out and do that. But this all boils down to you and I being that way, and just not listening to any naysayers or listening to any negative opinion if we ever get those. And then the same thing with him. Just not listening to anyone else and just running his barbershop for the vision that he sees, and not necessarily having to be romantic about it, man.
Right.
100%.
And my final point here is that as a cowboy, as an entrepreneur, as anyone in business, you have to do some things. And I'm glad you brought up working out and jiu-jitsu because you have to do some things that are going to build up your confidence and your reliability on yourself. For me, I know if I make a promise to myself, and it took me a long time to develop this over a lot of failures, but I know if I promise myself I'm going to do something, 1,000%, it's happening. I will not let myself down, right?
Yeah.
With you as a partner, it's tenfold. I won't let me down. I definitely don't want to let you down, right? And
I'll kill you.
I know. But we also bust our ass in the gym every day.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu, get fucked up. Like, it's just like we put ourselves out there so much that our self-confidence just grows, man. And we know that we can handle whatever comes our way, which makes it super easy to take on new endeavors, to build a team, to take action when we know, hey, at the end of the day, we're going to be all right.
And the more self-confidence that you grow, usually the calmer that you get. You're not out puffing your chest up at everyone or barking at everyone. You're not trying to convince everyone of what you're doing. You're not trying to convince other people of what they should be doing. Like on our team, I think one of the biggest, I guess, shocks is that we don't have a number. Like we don't have quota. Like when we, like our agents, of course we have goals. And of course we go over their goals, but we don't have minimums for our team, and everyone's crushing anyway. We're fine, but we want people, we want to help people within their goal. I don't want to be telling anybody what they should be doing. So just as much, it's just, if you're still listening to this, especially if you're younger entrepreneurs, the more confident you get, the more successful you get in your realm, and you've proved some things to yourself, you don't have to prove it to anyone else. Correct. And you start become you're at peace with that. And the less you have to explain yourself to everyone, and the less you're trying to tell everyone else how to live. And I think a lot of times with us, and I mean us, I just mean humans, when we're not as confident at what we're doing, or when we subconsciously know that we could be doing more or doing better, we don't have the confidence in what we're doing in the first place, we tend to tell people how to live, or tell people our ideas of what we think we should be doing, and we put that on others. Right. Versus the more successful you get, you don't. Just like with fighters, like what like in jiu-jitsu, man, you'd be surprised for the most part how a lot of your successful jiu-jitsu guys or fighters are super calm. Dude. They're not the guy trying to start the fight in the bar. No. But if a fight comes, well, then you'll handle it and take care of it. But their demeanor's a lot different the more proficient they get. And believe it or not, we saw a lot of that with gangs. Like when I was a cop, a lot of your veteran gangsters, look, man, they were quiet. You wouldn't catch them with anything in a car. You wouldn't catch them out participating or doing anything, right? Some of the worst ones were wannabes. Because they were trying so hard to be a part of something, or trying to be so hard and just be something that maybe they would end up being, but maybe they were just forcing. Maybe that's not who
they're trying to prove to themselves that I am this thing.
And they're trying to prove to other people. But here's the problem when you're trying to prove something to big homies. That's your interpretation of what you think that they want. They're not necessarily telling you to do anything. You're just out running amok doing things, thinking that you're doing stuff that's impressive, but you're not necessarily in communication with big homies that are delivering a message to you.
Dude, that correlates perfect to business, man. The people just being outrageous just to be outrageous.
And I think that's super important. I think, when we have some fun with this topic today, and I know you're capping it off, and we talk about just cowboying up and just being against the grain, but it's really just boils down to just, look, be true to who you are, and then just don't be scared of that. And just understand that failure's going to come with that. Naysayers are going to come with that. Mistakes are going to come with that. You're going to cut your chin a little bit here and there. You're going to fall off. You got to get back up. But just not trying to necessarily create any more attention to yourself. Just go out and just be something. Be built from something, right? Put the effort into whatever you're trying to do. Make sure that your effort is adequate. Die on your own sword, man. Don't gaff stuff off. If you're going to do it to the best of your ability. And you don't have to listen, for anyone else to tell you when to quit. You know yourself. You know when to move on and do something different and when not, and when you're putting in the work and when you're not. But the biggest thing is not trying to force anyone or convince anyone to believe in what you're doing. But at the same time, don't expect them to support you either. Just go out and be about what you're doing.
Yes.
Put that foot, put your best foot forward, and just fucking cowboy up, man, and have some fun with it. I think is the biggest thing, man.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like you.
That's good, man. That's good.
Some Brokeback Mountain Cowboy shit right there, Fat. I like you, Cowboy.
Oh, shoot.
All right, guys. Well, until Friday, we will see you when we see you.
That's right.
Another great topic Friday. As always, we're biased. Enjoy your Monday,
guys. Have a good one.
Appreciate your time.